Good afternoon to all our viewers in and around La Côte d'Ivoire. What a blessed way to welcome you today to this most informative, educative, and entertaining program, Business Diary. Coming up in today's edition, we will be looking at Africa's problem with tax avoidance. What is it all about? We will be right back after this theme song. Thanks for joining us and welcome. Thank you very much and welcome to your business program. In today's edition, we will be talking directly to Dr. Kablan, who will better introduce himself to this program as we continue. Good evening, sir, and welcome to this program.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Who is Dr. Kablan, please?
Oh, Dr. Kablan is a lecturer at the Graduate School of Management, and stayed in United States for about 35 years, and then I now teach at the Graduate School of Management in Cote d'Ivoire, Abidjan. Yeah.
Great. Now we will be looking at this topic, very interesting,
Yes.
as we consider Africa's tax avoidance. All in all, what really it means when we talk about tax? What is it all about?
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me the platform to inform the people, your audience in particular. Here, I'll be very simple and straightforward because our taxes itself in general, a tax is an amount of money that a government requires people to pay according to their income, the value of their property, and etc. And that is used, those taxes are used by the government to pay things that the government does for the people, the population.
Mhm. So let's look at the issue of tax avoidance. What are we talking about, especially in Africa?
Okay. When you talk about tax avoidance, okay, in actuality, tax avoidance is a very crucial thing, especially when it comes to government in Africa. Uh, because you see, we have the informal sectors, or the informal sector in Africa is very big. Because when I talk about the informal sector, is that businesses and all these things that are not legally or really recognized by the government. So the nest cannot cover all these people for the government to have, enough money to function, which is taxes. Yes. So that's very important, when it comes to, when we're talking about tax avoidance, because in actuality, for a government to work, you need taxes.
But do we have these experiences when you talk about companies that avoid tax payment? Do we have these experiences?
Oh yeah. When you talk about company avoiding taxes, Ben, I will say that nobody likes taxes. Nobody. I don't know if you like them, but nobody like taxes. Individuals, companies, nobody like taxes. But the problem is that yes, we always try to avoid taxes, but I will put the burden mostly on the government, and especially governments in Africa, because the tax structures are not conveniently done. put together. So it becomes a big problem for the government, to really get its hands on all these companies, because we're talking about companies as compared to individuals. Company pay the bigger taxes, because mind you, taxes are very important, simply because taxes are one of the biggest revenue for the government. So if really the taxes do not come in, it's a problem for the government to function. Because government has a lot of priorities to take care of. That's the problem.
Okay, what are the types of taxes when we talk about taxes? Do we have various types of taxes
Oh
in terms
yeah,
of, yeah, and what
I
are
will put
some?
it. Yes, okay. Thank you very much. I will put it simply, because I don't think that we have enough time. So, what the question that you asked? Yes, we have in general two types of taxes. I'm not going to go into the details, talk about other taxes and all this, but in general, and especially when we're talking about Africa, because Africa's economy and this and that are macro managed, not micro managed, but macro managed, meaning that it's like a buy and sell. Say, so that's how it is. So here we have two taxes, which are generally the direct taxes, which involve the taxes. How do you call that? In the broader term, the direct taxes include the implementation. How do you call that? We have two types of taxes, like I said, direct taxes and indirect taxes. Okay, the direct taxes are the income tax, meaning that okay, you work, you get taxed directly, meaning that the government takes taxes on the workers. We're talking about corporate taxes, wealth taxes. These are taxes that the government take directly. And then to cite a few, and then we have indirect taxes, which comes through the sales taxes, service taxes, value-added taxes, and etc. So these are the two main taxes.
Okay, now maybe I'm a manager of our company. What do you think, as a register and a legal company, what I would love to like pay man tax so that the government will be able to operate? What do you think is the idea behind this
Okay,
for company
you
man
mean,
tax?
if I heard you
Yeah.
perfectly, you mean that why, if you're a company,
Mhm.
you want to avoid taxes,
Yeah. Mhm.
or, okay, when we take Africa in particular, because she thinks are unique in Africa when we talk about Africa, because here, mind you, I will say something is that when it comes to tax system, each country is structured differently. It depends, upon the realities in the country. Yes. So every government has its way of, restructuring or structuring, mechanism of collecting its taxes. The problem is that most of the time, the burden, because I talked earlier about informal sector. So the burden, I'll call it burden, comes upon companies, as you put it, which are legally, registered, who are, known by the government. The burden comes on these companies. And when I talk about burden, I'm talking about, you see, these few companies in the country, carry the load of the taxes, for the country. And sometimes, and also you talk about avoidance. Sometimes it brings these companies to really run away from these taxes. You see, sometimes you have to understand them. But what I'm saying is that that does not give them the right. No. What is there is that for a country to succeed or to, really function, the government needs taxes. So the laws and all these, in the country have to be, done in such a way that, it covers all the, more sectors, not only maybe the businesses, but other things that, they have to cast the nest widely so that, the government can recuperate, more money, to do or to work or, to develop the country. It's very important. Infrastructures, all these things. Yes. So the government collect these taxes, to be able to, function by, put the infrastructures together. The public needs, hospitals, schools, all these things. Yes, it's very important. So you're talking about avoidance. Yes, based upon that, if in a given country, because when you take Africa, it's a lot of, the informal sector is very huge. And I know the informal sector is very huge. Yes. So, hey, what is there is that few companies carry, all these burden. So that's why sometimes, but they cannot avoid it. It's going to be very difficult to avoid it. The only thing I will say, because I think if I have to talk about compromise or something like that, things like that really do not exist because the governments have to function. Now, we have situations, I know that you know about that. We have some situation whereby or where the government and certain companies, or let me put it this way, some government will give some incentives to certain companies, like let's say, okay, you install your company, you have 10 years tax free, so that you can give job to the people, you can employ the citizen to work. Yes, there are those things that happen in certain countries. And even Ivory Coast here, Liberia, you have them. Yes, the government gives some incentives. So I don't know if I should call them compromise, but here is a strategy that most government use so that they can lift a certain burden. But mind you, the employees in that company or in those companies pay taxes. Don't forget. So yes, even the entity is not taxed, but the employees within the entity are taxed. Yes. So that's what I'm going to say. In quotation mark, you know, compromise or things like that. Yes. I can barely hear you. I can barely hear you. I think maybe
Hello?
yes. Now, yeah.
Yes,
Now I can hear
yes.
you.
I was saying, let us look at another aspect because you just stated earlier, maybe for example, you have a country or the government that says, okay, this company will be operating maybe in like the next 10 or 15 years, but
Yes.
you won't pay tax, or this is the amount that you're going to be paying over this period of year. Now,
Yes.
you have other needs that mean the government as a whole. You have electricity, you have this, you have that, and it's the sole responsibility of each national government to provide these necessities. So what become of the entire citizen rates in terms of the government taking such a decision?
Okay, like I said, when the government, first of all, when the government take that such decision, first of all, is to encourage the company or to bring the company to hire or to employ. First of all, these incentives are given you know, based upon employment, meaning that the company will employ more people. You see, they will employ more people, and when they employ more people, okay, they'll be able also to pay, the employees. And like I said, though the entity, meaning the company itself, will benefit from those years you're talking about, but at the same times, each year, these employees will pay taxes. You see, so it's kind of compensating, that incentive things that I talked about. Yes, because yes, the employees will be, paying the taxes, but only the company. Let's say if a company has to be charged, let's say 10,000 safer, and then the government say, okay, 10 years, you're not going to pay that 10,000 safer. But the employee working there, they will be subjected to the taxes. Yes. So it's like it compensates itself. Yes. Though not all the money that the government will get, but the government will lose because here, mind you, the government also is its responsibility to employ the people, to make sure that either the private sector or the public sector, the government has to create the incentives because government really don't create jobs, but the government create an environment that is conducive to the creation of jobs. Yes.
Okay, now tell us your experience in terms of the subject that we are discussing, because I know you've been in America for so many years, but you are back in Africa. In terms of tax payment, what is your observation? You've been traveling to Ghana, you are in Cote d'Ivoire and other countries. What did you see?
Okay. When we you see, okay, what is there is that, like I said, taxes are very important to any country. Now, how do you collect them or how to put the structures? It depends upon each country, like I said. Okay, being in America for a while or for quite a time, okay, the American system is completely different from let's say Cote d'Ivoire system or Liberia system, very different because here in America, sorry, excuse me, in America, we have, okay, the economy is micromanaged in America. Yeah. Unlike America, Africa, the economy is macromanaged, meaning that you don't have to do really a lot in Africa because we do not produce anything, we do not manufacture anything, So compared to America, it's completely different. So the American system, they have a way. The tax system is structured in such a way that the individual tend to benefit from the tax, which, if could be more specific, is that the government in America is like a bank for the individual. What does it mean? It means that, okay, every paycheck that one gets, or your paycheck every week, what happens is that you're going to see on your paycheck, you know, so you're going to see on your paycheck a lot of, how do you call that? Give me 1 minute. Let me. So you're going to see that every week, what will happen is that every week, your check, you pay taxes. You have two taxes, the federal and the state taxes. And then these monies that being deducted from your taxes, the government works with these taxes. Then what makes it interesting is that at the end of the year, because it goes from January 1st to December 31st of the year. So what happened is that from December, when we get to December 31st, what happened is that you have to do what we call filing taxes. So when you file the taxes, then based upon your status, when I say your status, I'm talking about your family size and all this, and your children, all this. Then you declare everything to the government, and the money that the government took away, the only difference between the government and the banks is that the money that the government work with do not, you know, do not attract interests, meaning that the government does not give you an interest on that money. Apart from that, all the monies, all the taxes that the government took out of your check, at the end of the year, you're going to file. And when you file your taxes, you have a return of money. So, you see, that brings individuals most of the time to even declare themselves, to the government. Because what happened is that he or she would like to have some money at the end of the year. So it's like, you see, even if you work 1 day or 2 days or 1 month with a company, you want to declare that to the government, the taxes. Yes. So those are the incentives. You see, so the American system, because you see, the American tax system was created in 1913. So you see, so since that time, yes, that has been the strategy or the structure put in place. That's how it is. So you have, when you're talking essentially by this, we have the regressive, the proportional, and the progressive, taxes. So there's a way, they structure all these things. Like I said, in America, everything is macro managed. So it's very important to, see that. When it comes to Africa, okay, the problem is that in Africa, okay, the tax structure in Africa is I would say is very, I would say complicated. But what happened is that, the way they did the sector, it brings a lot of people, a lot of individuals, a lot of companies, to think of avoiding, the taxes. And also, very importantly, I will underline it, is that when you see, nobody likes to pay taxes. So let's say if the government is taking taxes or collecting taxes, the citizenry want to see what the taxes do is very important. That's the only way. That's the only way, people, even if they don't like to pay taxes, but that's the only way that people will see that, yes, I have, though it's painful, but I have to pay the taxes. But if people do not see what the taxes do, it's very, very difficult. They will always try to avoid it. That's the bottom line. Yes. Yes, that's the bottom line. Because, for instance, if you see that everything is clean, the gutters, in front of my house, the road is asphalted. All these things, when I'm seeing them, though I will see that it's painful to pay taxes, but I will pay because I know that yes, the taxes are working for me. But if I keep on paying taxes and I see that nothing is being done, no way. It's going to be very difficult. I will try as much as possible to avoid the taxes. Yes, that's how it is. So this has been the bane of African governments. Yes, because like you said, I went to a lot of countries and I see what is going on there. So I can compare things, yes. The taxes have to work for the people. If you go to countries that the taxes are working, there's no problem. You see that, yes, government is embarked upon a lot of, infrastructure development. But if you go to a country that the taxes are not working, the citizens will run away from, paying them. So, or thus, we're talking about informal sector. It's huge. Yes.
So that means it's the management system that is now working for those companies who pay taxes, but government does not well manage the resources that have been paid.
Yes, all these are taken into consideration. You see, it's
Mhm.
leadership, it's management. You see, it's very important. I've always said The leadership, the structure. First of all, the structure, how to cast the nest to cover a larger, sector so that the government can bring in more money. Because mind you, without taxes, the government will have difficulty surviving. It's very important. Now, if the government takes these taxes and does not do anything or does not or does a little bit, the problem is that citizens are watching. See, if the taxes are not working for them, they're not going to pay. That's the problem. They're not going to pay. You see, these incentives, have to be there so that for them to say that even if it's painful, I can pay it. There's no problem because the taxes are working for me. That's crucial. Yes, that's very important because not people pumping only taxes in there or collecting only taxes and then nothing is done. No. You see, it's like you can take a lorry park. You go to a lorry park, people collecting money, all this, and always years upon years, it's always dust there. That lorry park is never, asphalted, nothing. Even, like toiletry, all these things are not properly done. So, you see, that's the problem. But the taxes have been collected all the time. You go to a lot of African countries, you see all these things. But they've been collecting the monies and the taxes every day. But nothing is done. No, that's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, so people are ready to pay taxes. You can collect the taxes, but the taxes have to work for the people.
Great. Now, that if you were to propose or suggest some ideas in terms of resources that have been paid by companies so that national government will be able to manage them well for the well-being of all citizens in each country, what will you propose?
Okay, it's simple. Like I said at the beginning, any government needs taxes to survive because taxes constitute the bigger part of the government revenue. Okay, in so doing, what happened is that, okay, the laws have to be respected, the distribution, the infrastructures, all this have to be done. You see, we're talking here about the leadership, we're talking here about the integrity, we're talking here about really the passion, a lot of things that have to be well coordinated so that, because people have to see. You see, people have to see because, hey, people know when you're working and people know when you are not. So here, when people are paying the taxes, again, as I said, and I said it, and I will repeat it, the taxes have to work for them. Yeah, even if, you don't need a higher education to evaluate all these things. It's simple. If something is working for you, Mr. Ben, you will know. It's simple. Yes. So, but people realize that, you see, things, or most of the time, things are not working. Things are not working for them, especially in Africa. Because, you see, like I said, the laws have to work. You see, you do not create laws without implementing them. You have to implement the laws. So this is one.
So
Number two,
implementation, that is another factor of the law.
say it again.
Implementation of the law is another factor,
Yes,
you think?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. Because, like you said, you see, the leadership has to, the leadership has to be really a leadership because here, right now, we are in 21st century. Ask yourself, what is the leadership of 21st century or in 21st century, for Africa? I think we have to have a leadership of 21st century. How are we going to proceed on with a new leadership that, functions within the confines of the 21st century? That's very important. Yes. The previous leadership and all this, we have to change the way we approach things, the way we see things. The approach must be different. And that should be the 21st century leadership approach. Yes. It's based upon multiple things. Yeah. Because right now, the 21st century, we are in a technological era, and everything has to be based upon that. Now, it's not like before. Everything has to be, the technology is with us, whether you like it or not. Yes, it's there. Yes. You see, and you can never trick time. See, you can never trick the time. Yes. So if you don't go into that, it's going to catch up with you. So that's how it is. So with technology and everything, like I said, all the time, the 21st century belong to Africa. So Africans, we should come up with creativity, innovations, so that we can change the future of, the how the unborn, how generation. It's very important. It's what we put as a foundation that will serve the future generation. And I think that with the new leadership approach of the 21st century, we should be able to do that for the future generation.
Okay, another thing I just want to find out from you, tax avoidance, does it have something to do with corruption in government?
This is one part of it. It's true.
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. When we talk about corruption, you see, corruption comes in different forms. Corruption comes in different forms. Tax avoidance. Normally, it should be, you see, it's not such as tax avoidance. When we talk about tax avoidance, we talk about the informal sector. Yeah. People, they don't want to declare their businesses. People do not want, the government, to know their activities. Yes. You see, okay, now, how does that happen? Ask you the question. That's when comes in the corruption you're talking about. Okay, someone is operating a business and doesn't pay taxes. Though, even if the business might be legitimately registered and all these things, but is not paying taxes. You think that where does it come from? We know someone somewhere would, yes. Say that's when, see, when you talk about those things, fine. That one I understand because the laws are not enforced. You see what I'm saying? So hey, the corruption is what? You come see me to take the money, or instead of taking DMI from, I will give you what? 2 mil, 3 mil, and then you wipe it out. These are corruption, yes. That one, if you say that, I understand, is true. Yeah, that's corruption. That's why I say it comes in multiple forms. Yeah, that's how it is. But in actuality, when a company is registered and everything, it cannot avoid the taxes unless the incentive that I talked at the beginning, that the government say, okay, 10 years you're not going to pay taxes unless you have that incentive. Other than that, no government will say that, or none of the company can say that, yeah, I'm avoiding taxes. Because if you avoid taxes, how is the government gonna work? That's the government revenue. Yes. The government needs it for infrastructure. It needs it for school, for hospital, for social, amenities, for all these things. So they cannot say that, yeah, maybe Mr. Ben is the most handsome man, so you're not going to bring him to pay taxes. Because if Ben pays taxes, it favors all of that, all of us. Yes, it favors all of us. So that's how it is. According to the laws, the tax law and all this, every citizen working has to pay taxes. Every company, registered owners should pay taxes. So that's how it is. You cannot avoid it. But then you have other stuff that brings you to avoid it. That one, bon, okay, illegal stuff. That one, yes, we live with it. So yeah, that's the problem. Yes.
Okay, so how long do you think will Africa continue with this issue that we are discussing?
Okay.
Both government and companies, because it's something like business as usual, I can say. So how long you think?
Okay. When you say how long, I cannot
Hmm.
put really a number of years on this. What is there is that you see, every situation changes at a certain time. It's all depend. Here, it's not a matter of time, but it's a matter of how the governments, the various governments in Africa will, really craft their tax system. It's very important. Yes. It's not a matter of time but how are they going to, put it together? How to collect them? How to cast the next, wider so that they can capture a lot of these people or these entities. It's like the informal sector is too big in Africa. The informal sector is too big, so they have to, you see. And I know, I trust Africans that we are very smart people, and I know that, yes, I know that at a certain point we'll come with the strategy. The governments will come with strategies, to really make sure that, yes, they capture. I'm not saying all of them, but the bigger part of the informal sector. And I believe that a lot of governments are working on these things. Yes, they are working on these things to, try and get really the, most of the, companies and individuals or small scale enterprises and, industries to come on board, and also this is also when I say this, I'm talking about also some of the incentives that government also will give to the larger or the wider, people or companies that will alleviate, that will bring them to really support, the taxes. It also depends upon the government approach. You see, when the government or the individual sees that, okay, it's not too much burdening, it brings them to come out of the, dark. So it's very important for, the government also to study. I'm talking about the structures. I'm talking about the reforms in the tax system. And these things have to be thought of all the time, because you see, the more or the more you reform, the better, uh, things will be. Because here, if it's too burdensome, the people or the company will try to avoid, because mind you, nobody wants to pay taxes. So if these things are done, the reforms are done, the taxes are, really reduced, and all this. I'm not saying that government should do something that will bring it to lose. No, but at least, government should weigh things and see that, okay, if I said Ben should pay this amount of money, right? And tomorrow I come and lower it. At least Ben will be satisfied, though Ben is paying something, but Ben will be, happy, paying that all the time. So that's how it is. So you see, talking about time, no, but reform, restructuring, creativity, innovation in terms of the tax system, that will help a lot the African government, in terms of, collecting the taxes.
Okay, let's look at advantages and disadvantages for companies that avoid tax payment. What can you say about it?
Oh yeah, but when you're talking about advantage and disadvantage, it's simple and it's straightforward. We're talking about advantage when we talk about companies. If companies avoid taxes, is the advantage? Yes, because mind you, see, the thinking of companies is maximization of profits. That one you have to know that. Yes. So whatever I'm going to do to maximize profit, that's what I'm going to do. So obviously, automatically, the advantage is on the company side. Yes, if he can avoid, more of avoidance is better for the company. You see, but mind you, also the penalty will be tough. Yeah, but then the advantage is on their side. Now, when you talk about disadvantage, of course, is the government. The government won't get its cut. That's the problem. You see, yes, the government will be the one suffering it because if the companies are avoiding the tax to pay taxes, what is the government going to do or use to create or these infrastructures? The government cannot. It would be very difficult. Maybe if they were getting all these monies, they would have increased number of development. But because they're losing, yeah, they're losing. So the government is in this, disadvantage. The government won't have a lot of money or enough money to really, develop what he wants to do. It's very important. So the disadvantage is automatically at the government level. You see, at the government level. That's why, okay, previously you were talking about corruption and this and that. Yes, this is the problem. Because you see, the authority doing that may think that, okay, maybe getting something put in his pocket. It's true. But what does it do to you and I? That's the problem. If they have to build a hospital or a school for kids, or in a particular area to go to school, they won't be able to do that because the money didn't come in. There's a shortage. That's the problem. So government will be always in disadvantage if the taxes are not paid. Yes, that's why I'm saying that the government must make sure that they cast the net wide, larger or wider to cover at least a big chunk of the informal sector.
So where do we go from here, Dr. Kablan?
Oh, go from here. Okay,
Yeah.
simple. Go from here is I'll talk about again about innovation and creativity. We have to rethink. We have to reform. We have to, because mind you, I told you that we have a lot. The informal sector in Africa is huge. It's huge. You see, these people they have businesses, small businesses, and all these things, but it's huge because the government cannot capture them. You see, the government cannot capture them. So the only thing the government can do is to be able to, create or innovate, the process that they have there. You see, a lot of, how do you call sensibilize it? Is sensibilize a lot of advert, a lot of, and even I was thinking that even if we could bring it into our schools, like even education to educate the public, the people, even in our schools, from the children to know that taxes are essential. So taxes are very important, in each country. A government, or governments need that to survive. Is the revenue for the, so it has to be, we have to think that way. That you
Okay. So
see,
yes, please. In terms of education, like what you are saying, maybe at the university level or even high school,
no, no,
do you think that?
university level will be too late.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
So from what level in terms
from
of
from 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 even from primary school.
okay.
Yes, it should be part of if I could say the curriculum, so
Mm-hmm.
that is to bring, you see, in the vocational setting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say something vocational in the primary schools that they teach the student, the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the tax payment or these things should be part of it, so that when the kid is growing up, he knows that yes, without taxes, the government cannot survive. If you tell that kid in the village, let me take in the village, right? You take the kid in the village that if taxes are paid, Government can even help the village build a school. Do this. The kid will see the importance of taxes. So African government should think about that. Educate the kid so that they grow up with the taxes system. Why do we tax someone or company, or why even taxation is there? It's very important for the kid growing up to know. So already when he's, adult, he knows that yes, I have to pay my tax so that this can be created. And again, don't forget, if you teach him from the kid, from the infancy all the way to the adulthood, you have to make sure as a government that you work with his taxes. You have to give it back to him by implementing infrastructures and all these things, because he cannot be one-way street. No, it cannot be a one-way street. He has to see that yes, the taxes that I'm paying is working for me. That then is very important. It's crucial. Yes, I said that as much as tax is something that we don't like, it's true, but he has to work for the people paying the taxes. And I told you, like, I pay taxes, and then in front of my house, all the gutters are clogged up, smell everywhere, garbage everywhere. No, it's not going to work. Yeah, I will try to avoid it. Yes, and I can use all the means to avoid it. Yeah, so that has been our bane in Africa. Yes.
Okay, so in terms of education and creating awareness by national government, you think the political will is not there, or is the lack of resources? What do you think?
I talk, you see, it's not that the political will is not there. I talk about vision. You see, because you see, it's because we have problems that we have solution, and we have solution is because we have problems. So there's no problem without a solution. It doesn't exist. No matter what. That's why we have to think as human beings, because we have the power of God. So any situation has a solution. So here, if we do one is not working, let's do the other, way. So I see, I don't see any political, but I see vision. There are so many things. Again, vision, we're talking leadership. You see, vision, we're talking leadership. That's how it is. See, bring the leadership so that the managers will manage. You see, that's how it is. Yeah, when you have the vision, then you bring the managers to manage. So if you're talking about political will, the political will, fine, but here I see more leadership. Yes, it's about leadership. And everyone in his own sector has to work, every authority. Yes, it's not because, yes, the leader is there that, you, because you are under him, you're not going to do what you're supposed to do. You see, the leadership is not only the head there, but it goes all the way down, it trickles down. So they have to implement all these, and especially, like I said, the awareness, the education. You have to educate. We have to bring the tax system into our schools. Yes, to inculcate in the mind of our kids so that by growing up, they know that they have to pay taxes. That's how it is. It's like cleaning when you clean. Even when you throw something that you see the kid, you can have your kid of 3, 4 years old. When he's taught that cleanliness is very important thing, even if you walk in the street with him, you throw something that you tell you, Dad, pick it up. Yeah, because that's what is being trained. So he will tell you, you may forget, or something that you throw the thing out on the street, he will tell you, Dad, pick it up. Yes. There's nothing, genius or extraordinary or that. No, no, no. It's the way we bring them up. That's all. So we can do the same thing for taxes. Educate them on that. Yes. Oh, it's mute, eh? It's mute.
Let us look at your personal views in terms of this discussion because you are an expert in leadership. So what is your personal view looking at Africa's problem, which is tax avoidance? What is your personal view or analysis?
Again, is okay. I will repeat myself, but what I what I'm saying is that leadership has, a lot of attributes. So what happened is that you see, when you're a leader, there are a lot of attributes that I cite. Some of them I cited some of them earlier. Integrity, a passion. How do you call that? Trust, and all these things. Yeah, it's very important. So what is there is that in anything that we do, it's not only about taxes. It's not taxes alone. Whatever we do in terms of leadership is very important. For one, leading, to know that there are a lot of procedures, different approaches to bring people, because hey, leadership is based upon vision. Yes, like gave the example when it comes to the tax system. Okay, my vision, let's say a vision that I said, okay, let's educate the children. Let's bring the tax system into the schools, so that you see that's one solution. That's one possibility that we can have many of them. That's one of the possibilities that if we bring the children or we bring the taxes into the schools, it will bring another generation that will be not compelled but will understand how the tax works. You see, so as a leader or leadership, we have to make sure that we combine all the attributes that leadership has to reach a vision. And the vision, the leader is to bring people, to espouse his vision convincingly. It's not a matter of forcing someone. No, it's not that. You see, in leadership, you cannot force anyone. In leadership, you have to convince the people, or you have to convince the followers. So that's the essential thing, when it comes to leadership. You have to convincingly bring the people behind you to espouse the vision that you have. Yes, because if you do not do that, you see, let's say when we bring these kids or the tax system into classes, it's the way we teach them, to bring them to appreciate, to bring them to like, to bring them to to really love the tax system. Though at that age they're not paying anything, but you see, they're not paying taxes at that age. But at that age, they will, the way you communicate with them will bring them to really love it. And so they grew up with that. So it becomes instantaneous. It becomes something that already growing up, he knows that, yes, I have to pay taxes. That's what brings the country to be developed. So, you see, you don't have to create anything new. No, that's the bottom line. You don't have to create, you don't have to, yes, but look at possible things that can be done. you know how am I going to make sure that the tax system is understood? How am I going to make sure, like when I explained the one from America, right? Okay, America, the IRS becomes your tax bank. So all the monies they paying you, they deduct money. So the money they deducting, they put it in there for you tomorrow. You may not get all, or you may get that money plus other incentives. When you look at the American tax code, you see it. So what happened is that when you get a job in America, even if it's a month in America, you run to declare yourself to the government that I worked, take my tax out, because you know that at the end of the year you will get it back. You see, Ben, what I'm talking about.
Because,
So
yes, because
yes,
the tax law is very strong in America.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. But we can do the same thing in Africa. Yes,
Okay.
we can do the same thing. It doesn't make it. Yeah, we can do the same thing here. Yes. Yeah, we can adapt it to our reality. Yeah. The only thing is that we have to respect the laws. We have to apply the laws. Because you see, democracy, the weapons of democracy is implementation of laws. If in democracy you do not implement the laws, it's illusion. You think you are in democracy, but you are in illusion. Yes, that's how it is. Without applying the laws, democracy doesn't mean anything. Yes, it's confusion. You think you are in democracy, but you are confused. That's how it is. Yeah. So only the implementation of laws reinforces democracy. Yes. So if Africa want to practice democracy, the laws must work. Corruption must stop. I'm not saying entirely, but hey, that's how it is. Corruption and all this, shouldn't be, our leitmotiv. No, it has to stop. With that said, yes, the tax system and all this can work. Yes.
Finally, do you
Mhm.
have a closing word or suggestions to our viewers around the world?
Okay, my closing word is very simple. I thank you very much for having me, this hour, and I think my contribution was also, received very well. And like I said, we didn't have enough time to go into details about a lot of things, but I believe that I was able to inform the people, and then also, the advice, my little advice that I can give, or my contribution will be for the government to really think outside the box. Think outside the box and implement, or innovate and create, because there are always possibilities. Yes, they shouldn't focus on it. They have to look at their own reality and then build the tax system which would bring them to really enjoy, a lot of tax collection. Yes, it's very important. Other than that, it's going to be very difficult. But with technology and optimism, I believe, and I think that Africans, we can get there. Yes, it may
So when do
be.
you think we can get there? I come back to the beginning of
This
it.
this
When
is
do
an
you think?
interesting question.
Mhm.
When do you think that we can get there?
Yes.
You have to be a genius. Yeah, but it's a hope that we get there. And you see, with technology, we will get there. With technology, we will get there. You see, for instance, okay, if you take, example, you go to Ghana, right? They have recently implemented what they call the e-levy. Okay, the e-levy is based upon all this Momo transfer. You see the money that they transfer and all this. Everybody does that. Everybody transfer money. Everybody receive money from a parent or an acquaintance or something like that. So they decided to tax all these possibilities. So what happened is that it's other possibility that brought them to cast the net wider, because even the person from the street receive money or send money. Yes, so that's the new vision that they have. Yes, so you see, it's very
And it's
important.
working.
That is working. It's working. It's
Okay.
the law. So hey, there's nothing you can do unless you don't send money or you don't receive money. That's how it is.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kablan, for being
You're
our special
welcome.
guest this evening on the program Business Diary. We want to say a special thanks to the management and staff of the Liberia Public Radio and online television. We hope to see you again soon and very soon. Do have a blessed
No,
weekend.
no
Do have
problem.
a blessed week. Sorry, on
Same
the
to you.
on
God
the
bless
Ivorian capital
you,
city,
and
Abidjan.
I
Bye.
know that your program, your program will have a success.
Thank
Yes,
you very much.
yes.
Thanks.
We pray
God bless.
for you.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Mm.
Bye bye.